All right, Elliotte Friedman joining us now to maybe give us some more clarity on the situation in Edmonton. Elliotte, were you surprised at the timing of this whole thing, the firing and then the hiring?
Yes, I was surprised at the timing of it, Jameson. I think I knew it. I knew it was possible. I knew if things considered going the way they were going in Edmonton, that they were going to change something. It was going to be the coach most likely, but I didn't see it coming on Sunday morning. Probably because they'd won the night before in Seattle, and that doesn't really bother me a great deal. I think if you decided you're the big picture going to change the coach, one win or one loss shouldn't matter, but I still wasn't expecting it on Sunday. I think the other reason I'm really surprised, Jameson, is that just imagine at the beginning of the season, if you would have said the Oilers would have fired their coach for poor play 13 games into the year, you wouldn't have believed it. I mean, this is a guy who entering this season had won 68% of his games as a head coach of the Oilers. He had an excellent record. The team seemed to be poised to do big things, and I think that's the biggest surprise at all, that they're sitting there right near the bottom of that division you're showing. Nobody thought that this was going to be the case.
Speaking of surprises, at the press conference yesterday, Jeff Jackson and Ken Holland, they kind of had different answers when asked about consulting the players on that move. What did you make of that whole situation?
I didn't think it was as big a deal as everybody made it out to be. And, people can disagree with me. That's fine. It's not the first time. It won't be the last. But I looked at it this way. I think, it would be interesting to hear Dave and Bob's perspectives when this is over. But when teams aren't going well, it's not unusual for the people to ask the players, what they think, what's going on. And the other thing that a lot of the managers do is sometimes they'll call player agents and say, look, your guy's really struggling. Is there anything we need to know here? Is there maybe something going on in their life, or is there some way we can help get them going? Or can you talk to them and say, we need you to get going? And I think a lot of that was happening. So do I think the players were asked about what was happening and what could make it better? Yes, 100% I absolutely do. Do I think this was some sort of Kane mutiny where the players rose up and overthrew Jay Woodcroft? No, I don't believe that happened. And I don't think McDavid would want the reputation as a guy who would do that, because it's not him. So I think we're talking about two different things here, and that is that Ken Holland was asking the players, trying to get into their heads, figured out what they think was wrong. But I think ultimately it was Jeff Jackson's choice to change the coach. He's been a huge fan of Kris Knoblauch for a long time. I don't believe the players overthrew the coach or anything like that here.
All right, so we have a new coach in Edmonton. Now it's essentially on the players to figure it out. You've been around the sport a long time. What's your gut telling you about how this situation now plays out? Is this a playoff team? Is this still a Stanley Cup caliber team? Is there enough time left in this season? What do you think?
Well, I think right now you can't say they're a Stanley Cup caliber team. What's Bill Parcells' old line? You are what your record says you are. And right now the record says the Oilers are 3-9-1. I think this, Jameson, I think there's a lot on the line in Edmonton this season. I think the reason this coaching change was made at this time is because of the expectations around the team, and also the fact, Leon Draisaitl's got one more year after this, time restricted free agency, and Connor McDavid has two. And right before the season, they were both in Vegas at the media player tour. And, Draisaitl specifically was asked about his future, and he talked about being in position to win, that they had a good team that he felt was getting close, and that everything in the organization was about winning. And as long as that took care of itself, there was nothing to worry about. I think the organization sees that. I think they know this is not a time in their franchise's existence. I still can't believe that goal. But there's not a time in this franchise's existence that they can afford to be treading water or drowning. And that's why I think this move was made. Look, they've got to get saves. They've got to play a lot better. They haven't played well in front of their goalies. I think certainly it is on the players too. There's no question about that. But I think what this move said to me, Jameson, was that they realize they can't afford to keep going in this direction. Now, St. Louis was in last place in the league in the first week of January, won the Stanley Cup in 2019. Florida was in big trouble in the new year last year, and they ended up in the Stanley Cup final. So it can happen, but the fact is they've got no more runway. There can be no more stinkers. There can be no more bad nights. The Oilers have made a bad bed here, and they're going to have to play great to crawl out of it.
All right, we'll see how it turns around. Maybe it turns around tonight as they take on the New York Islanders. Elliotte, we appreciate the insight. Enjoy your nights, and we'll talk to you down the road.